Hi guys, this is Gnimsh I Harp You, and welcome to the second episode of Deck Check. Today we'll be talking about an Aggro Warlock deck, which is one of the most prominent and most popular decks right now. So this deck is so popular that everybody plays it, and you will probably face it very often on the ladder, on the unranked games, and in your bedroom as well. So this deck is a minion heavy Warlock aggro deck, which aim is to kill his opponent or your opponent as soon as possible and as fast as possible with as many minions as possible. It's using different synergies based on minions, based on demons, on buffs, and some finishers as well. So this deck is actually pretty cheap to build and just crazily powerful. So this is the idea behind the deck. Let's get to the cards and let's see what the cards do and how they work together. So the first card we have here is Soulfire. Soulfire is a golden card in this deck, and I mean it, like literally. It's a golden card and it's really important in the deck. I know it was a bit cheesy. But anyway, like Soulfire is a removal card and it's a damage card, like a reach card. So you can use it in different ways. It's 4 damage for free. Well, not exactly free because you have to discard a random card, but this deck uses Warlock's hero power, which is life tap. Draw a card and take 2 damage. So it uses its hero power to refill your hand, so you really don't have to worry about your cards in hand, because you will always draw the cards. If you need cards, you will draw cards. Even if you use Soulfire and discard something meaningful, you will probably still get through because you draw so many cards if you want them. So Soulfire. First, you use Soulfire as a board control card. So it's like turn 3. You've played a 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. Your opponent played a 2-drop and maybe you would like to play a 3-drop. So you just play your 3-drop and you have this board position where you have like 3 minions, your opponent has 1 and wants to play a 3-drop next turn. So do you Soulfire? Probably yes, because if you Soulfire, even if you discard something that you don't want to discard, like maybe you had a Dark Iron Dwarf, or maybe you had, I don't know, like Sylvanas, which is obviously very good, it's still fine, because you really get ahead on the board advantage. And this deck is mostly about board advantage. You want to keep minions on board, buff your minions, and push with your minions. With the Blood Imps and other buffs like Cleric and Defender, you're getting past the AoE threshold, how I call it. So you get your minions' health to 3, to 4, depending on what you are playing against, so they can't AoE you. And if you have all those minions on board, then killing your opponent's minions with Soulfire only gives you a possibility to actually have your board presence, board advantage, and push with damage, disregarding what your opponent will play. So this is Soulfire. It also deals 4 damage as a finisher. So you've dealt your share of damage because you had your board control, dealt a lot of damage, and your opponent has like a couple points of damage, points of health left. So what do? You Soulfire them to death. For free, mostly. So this card is amazing. It really works well with this deck, with the strategy of this deck. And you obviously need to have 2. The next card is Power Overwhelming. This is an overwhelmingly powerful card. Well, not exactly. It's a bit gimmicky, because Power Overwhelming needs some special setups to work. Obviously, the main reason to play it is to buff your minion and attack. So you have like a Blood Imp, or maybe like a Flame Imp. You buff it, +4/+4, attack for 7. It will die next turn. Done. You've dealt 4 damage for 1. It's cool, but you are losing a minion. But there are other ways to use this card in your deck. So you can use it with Shadowflame. So you buff your small minion with Power Overwhelming, like you had an Argent Squire without Divine Shield. Or maybe you have an Argent Squire with, but wherever, without Divine Shield. You buff it, it's a 5/5, you Shadowflame it, deal 5 damage to the board. You've spent 3 cards to do it, but maybe you're able to clear like 4 cards on their board. Even if you clear 3 cards, it might still be a valid trade. Also, Power Overwhelming can be used on Sylvanas, like if you want to sacrifice your Sylvanas because they've played a Ragnaros and you didn't get your own Ragnaros, you got your Sylvanas, and you really want a Ragnaros on board because it will put you ahead. So you play Sylvanas and use Power Overwhelming on her to suck her, and then get your Ragnaros, and maybe get your own Ragnaros next turn and totally own. So this is Power Overwhelming. It's like a gimmicky card that you can use to push with damage, use with Shadowflame and Sylvanas, and it's an okay card. It's not a key card, but it's like it helps you. Then we have an Argent Squire. Argent Squire is one of those cards that really gained in popularity like in a couple last weeks because of the free 2/2 drops. If we play Argent Squire turn 1 and they play a free 2, you can just attack, even if you can't buff it, you can just attack the free 2, lose the Divine Shield, and then they might want to attack your Argent Squire, which just kills their free 2, or even if they attack you for free, you can still kill their free 2 with your Argent Squire. So you just got a good mana advantage, because you killed their free 2 for 2 mana with your 1/1 for 1 mana. But in most cases, you will be able to buff your Argent Squire from a 1/1 into a 2/2. It will still have the Divine Shield, and then kill their free 2. So it creates one of the strongest openings in the game. When you have a coin, playing Argent Squire, then using the coin and playing Shattered Sun Cleric to buff the Argent Squire, and kill your opponent's free 2 with your Argent Squire. And you are still with a 2/2 and a 3/3 on board. Also, Argent Squire it's not only a card that can be used on turn 1. This card can be easily played somewhat later and still get buffed. Like for example, turn 5, if you play Argent Squire and Defender of Argus, you get a 2/2 Taunter with Divine Shield, so it can taunt twice. It's a very good card. So yeah, it's Argent Squire in this kind of setup, in this kind of deck, it uses a lot of different synergies. If you can buff it with Dark Iron Dwarf, then it has +2 attack, so it has free attack, and it can kill a 3/3. If it still has a Divine Shield, well, that's a free kill. So you can really abuse this card here. Then we got a Blood Imp, and Blood Imp is one of the best 1-drops in the game, and it's only available to Warlocks. Why is it one of the best 1-drops? Because it buffs your minions. It pumps them up. It pumps their health, which means that the minions will go beyond the danger threshold. Like, if they have 2 health, you bump it to like 3 health, and then AoEs don't work against them. So Blood Imp is a really impressive card. For example, one of the best openings that you can have, you start with Voidwalker, and you coin a Blood Imp. So you have a 1/4 Voidwalker, which is like almost unkillable on turn 1. And then turn 2 you play a Demonfire on your Voidwalker. So suddenly you have a 3/6 dude on board, and you can kill a lot of stuff with that. Getting a free 2s like Flame Imp or Knife Juggler into a 3/3, which is also great. So Blood Imp really enables some awesome trades where you even not trades, like Blood Imp enables you to kill your opponent's minion with your minion without losing your minion, which is amazing, and it really makes your minions very hard to kill. What's also important about the Blood Imp is that it has stealth, so you can position it smartly. Like, you can position it in the middle, then your opponent won't be able to cast Cone of Cold on the Blood Imp. They will have to cast Cone of Cold somewhere on the right or on the left. So it works similar to a Fury Dragon, and positioning of the Blood Imp is very important as well. And there are not many answers to the Blood Imp. Like, the mentioned Cone of Cold is an answer, but other than that, like, there are not many AoE cards being played. And somehow you can also buff Blood Imp to have more health than 1. With like Demonfire, you have a 3/3 Blood Imp. If you decide not to attack with it, it's really big. Oh, and also very important about the Blood Imp in this particular deck is that this is a bit of a skill and feel decision, because a lot of people, obviously, if they don't know how to play the deck, they will just attack with the Blood Imp right away, which is bad, because then it loses stealth and it can die quickly, so all your advantage is gone. But at some point of the game, like the other kind of players won't attack with the Blood Imp till the very end, which is also not a very good play, because at some point of the game you can actually use your Blood Imp to deal some damage. You just need to find that point. And what point is that? Which turn is that? It's hard to tell. It depends on the situation, on the board position. And while playing this deck, you realize like you need to search for that point, and you need to ask yourself a question: Is it the turn? Like, do I actually reveal my Blood Imp or Blood Imps this turn and start attacking my opponent, or is it not yet this turn? Like maybe I should keep it for 1 or 2 turns to like keep the board advantage, to like make my board bigger and then start attacking with it. So it's really a key decision to make at some point of the game that can win you or lose you the game. The next card is a Flame Imp. One of the best 1-drops that you can play. Like, this deck is so amazing. It runs so many good 1-drops. And draws a lot of cards. So like, this is the key. You draw a lot of cards and you always can play a card, which is good and which actually makes a difference on board. So a free 2 for 1. This is like cheating, because you just get 2 damage, which is nothing early. Like maybe in the late game when you have like 12 health and you're playing against a mage, you might not want to play a Flame Imp. But early it's not a problem. You play a free 2 for 1, which is awesome. And if you happen to have a Demonfire next turn, oh my god, then you have like a 5/4 turn 2. And what can they do with that? It's really hard to kill it. So that's the Flame Imp, and it's a demon, so it works with Demonfire as a free 2 for 1 without like any negative effect, so it's an awesome card. Then we have a Voidwalker. So like, in contrast to Flame Imp, it's a very strong card and it works really well with Demonfire. So you play Voidwalker turn 1, then you play Demonfire turn 2 on Voidwalker, and Voidwalker becomes a free 5 on turn 2. Like, how cool is that? You can kill a 2-drop, you can kill a 3-drop, you can do a lot of stuff with that. You can even like attack your opponent because you have taunts, so they won't be able to attack you, they will need to attack the Voidwalker. And what can they do to a Voidwalker, which is a free 5 on turn 2? Like, not much, I tell you. So this is one of the best openings as well. Also, like, if you can open with a Flame Imp and coin a Voidwalker to protect your Flame Imp and then buff it or whatever, it's really strong, really strong. And Voidwalker also serves a purpose to defend your setup, as I say. So you have some kind of a setup on board. Like, maybe you've played a Knife Juggler and something else, and you really don't want to lose your Knife Juggler to a 2/2 or 2/3 or whatever. So if you play a Knife Juggler and follow up with a Voidwalker, then Voidwalker protects your Knife Juggler. So it protects your board setup, which is totally cool. Like, because if you lose a Voidwalker, yeah, well, you lose a 1/3. That's probably fine, because it just took 3 damage, and on its own it's not dealing that much. So it's a really good card that this deck actually uses to the best possible effect, because it can use it offensively and defensively as well. The next card I've mentioned is Demonfire. Demonfire is one of the key cards in this Warlock aggro deck, and that's because it's a buff card and it's a removal card. So if you happen to get a demon turn 1 and you actually mulligan for it, like, you really want to have a Flame Imp or Voidwalker on your turn 1, then you can follow up with a Demonfire and make a monster on turn 2, which trades or just pushes with damage, depending on your preference and the matchup you're playing. So Demonfire creates really, really strong openings. And even if you don't have a demon, or if they happen to kill it, because it sometimes happens, you still have a removal card, with which you can deal 2 damage to any opponent minion. Opposing minion. So yeah, like, Demonfire is this card that you can really abuse here, and it really works with this current setup. A very good card. Then we have the Knife Juggler, and the Knife Juggler is a very cool card on itself, because it deals 1 damage when you play a minion. So if you have many 1-drop minions, it really wrecks the board. And look at this deck, guys, look at this deck. You have so many 1-drop minions. And like 2-cost minions as well, there is a couple. So like, Knife Juggler being played and protected can really wreck your opponent's board. Gives you a lot of board advantage, gives you some more damage. It's a great opportunity to play it and to abuse it in this deck. So yeah, it fits really well to this composition. Then we have a Novice Engineer. And the Novice Engineer is one of those cards that you either love or hate. So in the beginning I was like, well, this is 1/2. okay, draws a card, but I don't really care. Like, it's a 1/2, so it doesn't do much. And then after playing with this card, I was like, oh, I can, like, turn 7. If I draw it, I'm like, oh yeah, I can play it. So I have a 1/2 on board, and I still draw a card and can play it. And in this particular deck, it's not a problem to actually get the card that you can play as well for 5. So Novice Engineer is this card that you can play late game, and it works. It always gives you a minion. Like, even if you're forced to play it on turn 2, it's still fine. You just have a minion, you draw a card, and you can buff this minion next turn, or like in a couple of turns. But still, it's like, for example, compare it to the hero power. So for 2, you pay 2 mana, you pay 2 life, and you draw a card. And here, you pay 2 mana, you get a 1/2, and you draw a card. So instead of paying 2 life, you get a 1/2 minion. This is great. Like, it really works. So this card is a bit controversial, but in this particular deck, I really like it. Like, you will notice it when you play against people, and they draw a card, they need to play it. And you draw a card, you play a Novice, draw a card, and play that card. So suddenly, like, you have 2 minions on board, for example, and they just had 1. So it really works in many situations, and it's a cool card. It's a really good card to play. On turn 2, maybe not. If you have something else to play on turn 2, I recommend it, but you can play it on turn 3, like, and follow up with a 1-drop, maybe even. Like, play it, draw a 1-drop, play a 1-drop. If you had a 1-drop that you didn't play turn 1, or you had a second one, that's cool. It's a good card. Then we have a Harvest Golem. We already talked about Harvest Golem in the Mage video, but let's say that this card is awesome. It's a 2/3. It can be buffed, then kill 3/3 because it will have a 3/4, and it's always a pain for your opponent to deal with, because when it dies, it creates a 2/1. So they need to deal first with a 2/3, then with a 2/1, so they're losing cards. It gives you a lot of board advantage, and this is one of the best 3-drops available in the game right now. Also because people don't play many silence cards, because they are mostly bad, so if people start playing more silence, maybe this card will be a bit worse, but for now, even if they silence it, I'm probably fine. It's still a 2/3, so, and if they don't, like, they really have trouble with this, because it creates you a board position situation with so many buffs that even if they kill a 2/3, you get a 2/1, you can buff it, you can kill something bigger, so it's a really good card that fits well with the design of this deck. Then we have the Shattered Sun Cleric, which is pretty similar, like a 3/3 for free and buff something. Gives you some sick openings with Argent Squire, like with whatever you can buff. The best way is to actually play it, like play Argent Squire turn 1, then use the coin, play Shattered Sun Cleric turn 2, kill something with the Squire, or just turn 2, coin Harvest Golem, buff it, play Shattered Sun Cleric, and kill their 3-drop. So Shattered Sun Cleric like enables a lot of sick trades, sick kills that really puts you ahead. And even if you don't buff anything, a 3/3 for free, it's still a good deal. So yeah, this card is amazing. Then we have a 1-of Shadowflame. Well, this card is interesting. Like, we were playing, I don't know if we actually were playing I mean Team Doggy House, with which I tested. And oh, by the way, this build was actually designed by Team Doggy House, which is ACOP, Nyx, Savages, and me as well. So we were testing this deck for the 2P tournament. So this is our final build that we came with, which is very concise, well tested, and you can totally trust it. Just saying. Anyway, getting back to Shadowflame. So Shadowflame is a card that you can destroy your minion and deal damage to the opposing minions equal to the attack of your minion. So what you can do here is that you can just destroy your dude and deal that damage, but you can also like play Power of Overwhelming on your minion and then play Shadowflame. So like deal a lot of damage and clear their board completely. You can also use Shadowflame with Sylvanas. Play Sylvanas, use Shadowflame, deal a lot of damage and take a minion if something lives. An important thing to notice is that when you use it on, like if they have a Harvest Golem, you won't be able to take the Harvest Golem. Like you can only take with Sylvanas something that actually stays on board when you clear the board. But what else? Like Shadowflame. The most important thing that I can teach you about Shadowflame is that if you can attack with the minion that you really want to sacrifice, attack with it first and then Shadowflame. Like so many times, many people just Shadowflame something that could deal that 3 damage, 4 damage, 5 damage. They just forget that they can attack. There's like, they cast Shadowflame, they're like, oh, I forgot. So don't be the guy. Always attack if you can, and then Shadowflame. And use it, like, we are playing only one Shadowflame, because with this kind of board position, board control deck, with so many good minions to trade, so much damage going on, mostly you won't be needing to clear the board, but if you are in need to clear the board, or clear the taunters to actually push with damage without trading, you can use Shadowflame to actually deal that, to clear the board and then deal that last points of damage. So it's a very good card to have, and it's better than Hellfire because it doesn't deal damage to your own minions, it doesn't deal damage to yourself. So if you are low because you life tapped like a madman to get a lot of cards, it won't hurt you. It just clears the board and like gets rid of 1 minion, which is totally fine. Then we have Dark Iron Dwarf. Like this card is a bit controversial. Like I've seen a lot of people discussing that this card is good or bad. Like some people think it's amazing, some people think it's a bad card. This is a bit weird, but let's have an objective look. Like this card is a 4/4/4/4. The stats are fine. Like the stats are on the curve. You really get a good deal for 4 mana. You get a 4/4, which is hard to deal with, and you also get a buff. Like you can buff a minion with +2 attack. Obviously, you need to have a target. Like you need to have you can play this if there are no minions on board and nothing gets buffed, which is fine. But if you don't have a minion and your opponent has a minion, you will need to buff your opponent's minion. But in this particular deck, 90% you will always have a minion. You will always have something to buff. So Dark Iron Dwarf like won't be a bad card. Rarely, really. Like this card will be mostly okay. And you really want to buff your cards because like Voidwalker can become a 3/3. Flame Imp can become a 5/2. Argent Squire can become a 3/1 and trade with something, and kill something to just lose the Divine Shield. So Dark Iron Dwarf is an enabler. Like it enables a lot of good plays that you can do. It can also like buff something that you can Shadowflame next. So it enables a lot of cool plays that you can perform and do, like deal that 2 more damage when you dread from the top. It's like deal 2 damage. So yeah, this card really fits this deck design as well, and it's a really good card, concise card. It's good to have. But in case like if you have Soulfire and you might discard Dark Iron Dwarf if you play Soulfire, it's probably fine to use Soulfire if you get a lot of advantage out of it. Because like Dark Iron Dwarf is not a key card. Like he's a good card, can be used very well, but it's not like the card if you lose him, you will lose the game or something. The next card that I want to talk about is Defender of Argus. So Defender of Argus is one of the best cards in the game right now because of how the decks look like, and it gives +1/+1 to adjacent minions and taunts. This card is the reason why we are not seeing Warrior on the competitive scene right now. So Warrior is useless because of this guy. And why is that? That's why when you have some minions on board, you play Defender of Argus, they get taunt, and you can totally ignore trading. You can just attack your opponent in the face. And they still need to attack your minions because they can't attack you, they need to get through your minions. So they will, like your opponent will need to trade. So in this kind of deck, which is actually dealing damage, so not like caring much about board control, when you play Defender of Argus, you can easily attack just your opponent's face instead of his minions, depending on the situation, of course, because in Hearthstone it's really important to make good trades, to maintain the board position and board control. But in most cases, like you will probably buff your dudes and attack your opponent for the face, and he still has a problem. Like he has those buffed minions to take care of. He can't race you because you have taunters now. So it really puts your opponent in a really tight spot that he needs to deal with. So this is a very good card that fits the deck. And then we have our first legendary, which is Sylvanas Windrunner. In the current metagame, this is the best legendary available, hands down. This girl is amazing in so many ways, and I'm not only talking about her body, but mostly her ability. So, Sylvanas, if you play her well, and if your opponent doesn't have an immediate answer, and there are not many answers in the current constructed metagame, you will trade like 3 for 1 or 4 for 1. If you play her on the full board, and if you have some minions on your side, your opponent might think like, okay, if I don't deal with her, I need to race. So you force them to race you, and then you just trade, kill her somehow, like maybe with power overwhelming, or just kill her against something, and you get your minion. Like you will get the 3 for 1 yourself. In some games that we were playing, like Warlock against a Paladin, when I was playing a Paladin and Savages was playing Warlock, playing Sylvanas. He played Sylvanas on an empty board, and I was like, oh, so I don't have the means to actually deal with this card. I will need to like make a 4 for 1, because I need to play this, attack here, play that to actually deal with her. So it was very hard to deal with her. Like Paladin doesn't have many answers to deal with Sylvanas. So yeah, like Sylvanas in the minion heavy metagame is amazing. If you don't have her, if you have Dust, craft her. You absolutely need her right now. And, well, if you don't have, like, Sylvanas at all, you can probably play something else, but we'll talk about it when we finish with the cards. So, Sylvanas, one of the key cards. I mean, okay, she's not a key card per se. Like, she really makes your deck a lot more powerful. But if you don't have her, that this is not the end of the world, the deck will be still amazing. The next card is Argent Commander. Argent Commander, again, we've talked about Argent Commander in the Mage Guide, but still, like, a couple of words. This card is amazing. You really want to have 2 in every deck you build. You start building decks with 2 Argent Commanders, and then, like, think about an idea what you really want to play in this deck. So, charge for free, Divine Shield, kill something, stays on board, or just deals 4 damage, and your opponent still needs to deal with a 4/3 with Divine Shield. Really annoying to play against, really fun to play with. Amazing card. Enough said, I guess. Like, let's move on. Ragnaros. So, Ragnaros the Firelord. Like, this is the legendary that we've decided to have in this slot. But it's actually, as I call it, an open legendary slot. You can play Ragnaros the Firelord, you can play Leroy Jenkins, or you can play Jaraxxus. Yeah, Jaraxxus. You play Jaraxxus or you don't play Jaraxxus here. So, the reasoning. This deck has a lot of small cost cards. So if you somehow get out of cards and get to late game, most of your opponents will have those big cards like Tyrion Forging, their own Ragnaros, or some stuff like that. You really want to draw into something powerful to finish off the game. Something that's not easily countered. And yeah, that's the Ragnaros. So if the board is empty, more or less, like maybe 1 or 2 minions, but like a stalemate, not many cards in hand, you play Ragnaros, and their opponent's like, oh, wait a minute, Ragnaros, and you deal 8 damage, maybe you kill the answer, like a minion that they had on board, or just deal 8 damage and finish them with Soulfire, like, so many options there. Ragnaros is always like this, oh, how can I deal with this card, I need to spend this, or, like, Ragnaros puts your opponents in a pretty tight situation where they need to decide if they can deal with Ragnaros immediately, or if they just need to ignore Ragnaros and try to race you. Well, I'm fine if they try to race me if I have Ragnaros on board. So, yeah, that's why we decided to have Ragnaros. But if you don't have the Ragnaros, like, you can also decide to have your deck a bit more aggressive, and then you can play Leroy Jenkins. So Leroy Jenkins is the card that enables a lot of amazing plays if you play it. Like, because Ragnaros is mostly like a backup plan, and Leroy Jenkins is your enabler of some amazing plays earlier. Turn 5 kill, turn 6 kill. Maybe if you are playing Leroy Jenkins, you might want to have an overpower overwhelming to make your deck even faster, even more aggressive. That's a possibility. Like, some of the builds run it. So if you play against the Aggro Warlock, you have to expect Leroy Jenkins as well as a card. Another, like the last option here in the legendary slot is Lord Jaraxxus, as mentioned. So Lord Jaraxxus is a card that gives you a more like a bit of control-ish aspect. but not really. Like, if you feel that you are losing a lot of life, a lot of health, if you're playing against mages, like maybe more as a sideboard card, you can play Lord Jaraxxus as the card that actually gets you up. Because when you play Lord Jaraxxus in your deck, you don't really have to mind using hero power and drawing a lot of cards. Because even if you drop like below 10, you can then play Lord Jaraxxus, because probably if you lifed up so much, you'll have it in your hand, and get up to 15. And Lord Jaraxxus, when you play him, you actually get up to 15 and get 3 damage on board immediately. So you can deal damage with it as well. We're testing Lord Jaraxxus, it was working well. It's just a matter of preference. If you want to have Jaraxxus, Ragnaros, or Leroy Jenkins. And for people that are not actually having legendaries, because obviously the game is the game is still in closed beta, and not everybody has all the cards, and there's a couple of rares in this deck anyway, so if you don't have the legendaries, you can probably play something else in the deck. It won't make the deck useless, like the deck will be still pretty strong. So if you don't have the legendaries, you can play, let's quickly see what we have. Like you can play another Power Overwhelming here. Some of the people are playing Mortal Coil, we are not the fans. What else? Succubus is a bad card, don't play Succubus. For example, if you want to have this push like Sylvanas and Ragnaros, you can play Doomguards if you have them. Like they are obviously cheaper because they are just rares. But mind Doomguards that if you play Doomguards, you really want to play them on later turns to not get hit by the discard. You can also play Siphon Soul if you feel like you are having problems with some big minions. Like if you're playing against a Paladin often, if they are playing Tyrion Forging, or if you are having problems with the Ragnaros, you can play Siphon Soul there. So yeah, there are some choices that you can make. I don't want to suggest playing Spellbreakers to deal with the current metagame. Like you need to find those cards for yourself. But this is the core build that we were playing, and we are very happy with this build. It works really well, and yeah, like I'm not even sure like what are they actually like. This build is like it can defeat anything. Like this can win against anything. Like this deck is so stable because when you are drawing your hand, there's very little possibility that you will draw a bad hand. Like the bad hand will be drawing, I don't know, like 2 Argent Commanders and Ragnaros, but this is the odds of that happening with a mulligan and so many low drops and life tap is so low. This deck is very stable. So yeah, so guys, this is the deck. I really recommend you playing it. I'm really happy that because my favorite class is Warlock, so I'm very happy that Warlock is actually has a very good aggressive build, and I'm really excited to play it right now with you guys. So I will play a couple of games as in the previous episode, and let's see how it works, like how it rolls. I will show you a couple of mulligans. I will play on a 3-star ladder right now. So yeah, this is about the deck, and let's play a couple of games now. So this is the first game with Aggro Warlock. We are playing a 3-star Masters game against a rogue called Marauder. And this is our starting hand. We actually won a coin, so what do we want to do here? Shadowflame is not needed right now. Dark Iron Dwarf, I will obviously keep the Argent Squire. I'm a bit tempted to keep the Soulfire as well, but I think it's more important to actually try to reach for the best opening. Like Soulfire is still good, but against Rogue it might not be as useful. So let's try to get a Cleric and get a best opening possible. Okay, we actually didn't get a Shattered Cleric, but this opening might be pretty good as well. We got a Flame Imp though, so what can we do here? Like, we can actually start with Knife Juggler, but if he has a backstab, that doesn't really work, because he will just kill the Juggler here. Or we can start with the Flame Imp and coin the Squire. Or just start with the Flame Imp. This is interesting. Like I'm kind of tempted to actually play just to coin the Juggler and risk it, and then next turn, because like if he used the backstep still, it's an okay play. Okay, let's actually risk it, because it's a high risk, high reward. play. If he has a backstep, okay, fine. If he doesn't have a backstep, then we can really get ahead with those cards in hand. Okay, interesting. Oh, now you can. Okay, so but still, I would use the coin anyway. So what we can do here is we can play those two guys. We can play two Argent Squires and try to kill the small guy. Okay, we can't kill the small guy, so we can play something bigger. And now he will need to trade. But anyway, we have the board position here, and we are going to push with damage. And a better positioning would be to have the Squire in the middle to avoid the betrayal, the possible betrayal. Betrayal is like not a very popular card right now, but some people can still play it on the ladder. We got our Soulfire. This move that he made had some sense, because maybe he has another Fan of Knives. So to be on a safer side, we can buff our free one guy to a 4/2 so that another Fan of Knives doesn't do anything, and we keep pushing with damage. Like, from my perspective, this game is over already. Okay, eviscerate, that's fine. Shadowflame. I don't need Shadowflame right now. What I might need is something else, like a 2-drop. I will play Argent Squire, obviously. Maybe I can get something better. Okay, so what we can do here is we can play Argent Squire, because it gives us some advantage. And then the question is, what do we do with the board? I can kill those two guys and actually keep Soulfire, and I think I will do it, really. Because I still have two targets to use my Defender of Argus next turn if I want to play it. I can play Sylvanas as well. I think Sylvanas might be better in this situation. Okay, interesting. Like, what I can do here is I can play Defender, buff those two, and kill this with Soulfire, and I think it's better. Even if I lose Sylvanas, or like both of those cards are okay. So next turn I can still make a solid play, and because of this I can deal a lot of damage. So I will attack here, deal damage, Soulfire. Maybe I can just discard Shadowflame. It's Argent Commander, that's still fine. And I deal 4 damage here. So he's getting lower and lower, and we still have a lot of good plays. Okay, shift for 1. I hope you like my invention. It seems like the guy doesn't have any options. It might be a setup for the Defender of Argus next turn, but I don't think. I'm kind of tempted to Shadowflame this, but doesn't make much sense. I will play Sylvanas because he has some board position. Where do I place her? So if he like assassinates her, I will get one of the 1/2 guys. So he will need to like actually trade those guys with my guys, then kill her. If he plays Defender of Argus, then like a Defender of Argus was not a play. Oh yeah, okay, cool, man. I'm a bit sorry about it, but I'm not sure if we should count it as a game, really. Okay, we're back with game 2. We'll be playing against the Hunter. It's Terrae or Terrae, I don't know. I go first this time, and I'm having an Argent Squire and those 2 cards, which are a bit of a late game cards. Argent Squire is obviously okay, but what we really want in this deck is to have a demon and a buff. Let's say our greetings as well. And how do we start? Obviously we start with the Squire. If he coins like a 2-drop, using a coin obviously, then we can just trade. No 2-drop then. Now we can play a Novice, draw a card, we have some board presence now, and can start dealing more damage. Next turn might be an interesting turn, because if we don't draw anything, like, we can play a Blood Imp, and then Soulfire. The best thing to draw is obviously Shattered Sun Cleric. No Shattered Sun Cleric, so what I want to do, I might actually want to draw a card to see what I have. The thing is, I will probably lose the card. Oh, okay. Ragnaros is actually not a really good card right now. Play the Blood Imp somewhere here. And do I want to kill this with those two, or do I want to Soulfire this? This is the question. I think I actually don't care right now. I will attack him for 2 and leave the 3-2 on the board. There is the risk that I can discard the Dark Iron Dwarf is too high, and what he can do with this guy is deal 3 damage or just kill one of the 1/3s. Which is okay with me, like, totally. Okay, he just dealt 2 damage. Let's hope this game actually will be a bit more interesting than the last game. Okay, this is cool. So what we have here is a good setup. Like, this guy needs to be killed, obviously. Then we can play our 4/4. Look at the position that Imp is in the middle, so even if he coins an explosive shot doesn't work. And we have a 3-2 on board with Divine Shield, so he needs to do something with it. Next turn is turn 5, I can play like Harvest Golem, buff it. He uses the tracking. I wonder if it's an OTK Hunter. Like, if it's an OTK Hunter, it will probably erase a bit. You should play Animal Companion. Deadly Shot. Okay, he killed my Imp. That doesn't hurt at all. So he's probably a bit pissed right now. Another Dwarf. Interesting. I can play another Dwarf. I think I would play another Dwarf, really. Yeah, let's play the Dwarf. Another play was to play Harvest Golem and Life Tap, but if this is an OTK Hunter, I probably want to keep my life intact if necessary. And this is a really strong position right now. This is a really strong board position. Explosive Shot doesn't do much, like it doesn't do anything. Multi-Shot even doesn't do anything. Arcane Shot? Okay. Without Arcane Shot this will be just miserable. But I think it's still game, because I have 10 damage here. So it's 10 damage is... Whoa, this is too much. This is too much. This is unfair. I'm sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. But this deck is totally unfair. Well played. Not really. One-sided, though. So, this game was really interesting, because you could see how this deck actually countered what the Hunter can play. Like, he wasn't able to literally do anything. So this was game 2, and let's go to game 3.
Gul'dan versus Anduin. The light shall bring victory.
Okay, so we are back with game 3 against Nero. He burned Rome and he's a priest, so that's the question. How good is he? Demonfire, I will keep it because it enables one of the best openings possible, as mentioned before. Obviously we don't get a demon, so the plan doesn't work. And this hand is actually mediocre. This is not a good hand, mind you, so it will be interesting if we can win with this mediocre hand against a priest who actually heals a lot. But in Team Doggy House we used to say that priest is actually a treasure goblin, which means that a priest is out to win. So he coined a noose, which is a fantastic target for the Demonfire. Do I want to keep my Demonfire? Probably not. I can just use it because he lost the coin to play it, so there was a meaning to that. But who uses the coin main? Like who uses the Ooze main deck? Well, the thing about the ladder, even if you're playing a 3-star Masters, is that it's a bit different than what you face on the tournaments, what top players play. Like, you can face some of the top players playing here, but in most cases, you will be a bit disappointed anyway. So now is the thing, like, the guy will have 3 mana. 3 mana... For 4 mana, I could probably expect Shadow Madness, but with 3 mana, I don't expect Shadow Madness. I will expect something like a Grizzly Pearl, maybe. I don't know. Like I'm just thinking what to play, like Blood Imp or Argent Squire. Because it's not turn 4, I will play Argent Squire. And yeah, start doing my thing, like play minions and start dealing damage. Do I see Circle of Healing? No Circle of Healing. So I will continue doing my thing. And my thing is dealing a lot of damage and getting stuff done. I'm kind of tempted to Soulfire this, but the risk that I will lose one of those 2 cards is too great. So I will play those 2 cards. Maybe I'll be a bit lucky and get damage here. So I'm still like thinking what I want to buff with the Shattered Sun Cleric. I probably want to buff the 1/1 to make it a 2/2. Because this guy will get to 3 health. So I'm out of the Holy Nova range anyway. So I'm okay to buff it. So yeah, sweet. Now I can kill this. And then a next point of damage will go to his hero. Yeah, it was a long turn, sorry for that. But yeah, this is a good setup. And look how we are totally immune to the Holy Nova. Like, even if it's not even a Holy Nova turn, but we are still already immune to it. So we got a 3/5 that we need to deal with. But do we really? We can draw 2 cards out of it. We can Soulfire this if needed. Do I want to Soulfire it now? Like, let's see. I want to deal that one. I need to deal 1 damage to this.
I hope you like my invention.
We got a Dwarf, which is kind of a pain, but we got a lucky knife. So I'm totally fine with losing the Dwarf here, because it gives us a total board advantage. We got lucky and lost the Shadowflame, which does nothing. So now is the question. Oh, actually, I should actually life tap first. Okay, it doesn't do much, but still, like, you always draw before making an action to see what kind of hand you have. Okay, so now the question: the attack with the Imp. The answer is no, because I really want to keep my health above 2. So yeah, the Imp is still there. I don't want to lose it. That's the game, guys. This is the Treasure Goblin Priest. Like, there is literally nothing he can do. Okay, guys, this is the 4th game of the Aggro Warlock deck check episode 2. I feel like the first 3 games were too short, which is why I'm giving you this bonus game. And right now, this hand is pretty terrible. So we take a mulligan, we mulligan all 3 cards. And we hope for the best possible solution here. And this is not bad. Like, Flame Imp turn 1 and Cleric turn 3. We still have a chance to draw a 1-drop or a 2-drop. This is actually pretty amazing. So this hand, suddenly this hand is really amazing. Like, a Shaman actually has a lot of ways to deal with this. But if he doesn't, he does. Okay, he does deal with this setup. So that's good for him, because without this axe, it will be pretty terrible for him. We got a Blood Imp, so we can now decide if we want to draw a card or play a Blood Imp. Definitely I play a Blood Imp because I can buff it next turn. So the Shaman is loaded for 1. Overloaded. I just say loaded because it's easier. His name is Krebsler, and he's actually playing Murlocs. Sorry for bursting, but this is funny. This is so funny. Though, well, okay, I can now play the Sun Fury Cleric, buff my guy, kill his Murloc. And I think it's actually a cool scenario here. So, yeah, I could also play like this guy, but it doesn't matter. Yeah, let's kill the Murloc. Like this will be a fun game. Like those 3 games were really fast and like professional a bit. But playing against a Murloc, I consider Murloc like a fun deck. So if I lose it, it will be pretty bad. But I don't plan on losing to this deck. So I think I need to kill as many as possible. So let's kill the smallest one, which actually buffs them. Let's kill the big one. And let's play a 1/1. So yeah, what's our plan here? Obviously Murlocs depend on having Murlocs on board, so he will be trying to play a lot of Murlocs. You want to clear the Murlocs before he is able to play a War Leader, or a Seer in this case. He still has an Axe, so he will clear my board a bit. Still has cards in hands. Not bad. I will be able to kill a 2/2. Yeah, this is not bad. So I kill a 2/2 and play... What? Okay, that was a total mistake on my side. I should play the Blood Imp first and then trade. I could also like play Blood Imp and play Defender. Yeah, so what happens now? Having that 2/2 being a 2/1 would be very good. Oh, but I don't have it now. So, let's see if I can still win this after that mistake. Okay, that was a lucky knife. And I can't touch this yet, so let's continue. Like, this game can be pretty interesting still. Okay, 3/1 warrior, that's not bad. And an elemental. So okay, so this is his setup. He's not playing a warlock, so he won't be able to draw cards. So if I'm able to deal with this, I should probably win this game. He wants to get me as low as possible to deal with damage. So here I get a pretty nice setup with the Argent Commander. So I kill the... Do I kill this first? Probably. I can actually kill this one with those 2 guys and kill something with Commander. I think it's better, because if I kill this, then I can kill this guy and like have an imp. Yeah, it's probably fine, like I will have everything still. Okay, let's kill this guy. Then kill this guy. And do I want to enable my imp? I probably do. Like deal 2 damage and he can kill it. Yeah, let's do it. I'm fine if he kills the imp. So now the guy is in the top deck mode. We have even health and I have board position. So even though I made this mistake, my deck saves the day against this Murloc fun deck. Nice top deck. Nice top deck. Whoa, this was like a perfect setup. Nice. Whoa, I got to Harvest Golem, so obviously I kill this and play the Golems. And now I have a board that has a lot of potential. I can still draw some cards because if he's going from the top, there's like nothing he can play. Playing a Murloc deck, he will be drawing a lot of dead cards. That might be Bloodlust, guys. That might be Bloodlust, but I can still draw cards. And the fun thing is that I can clear the board to deny any advantage on his side. Play the board and like go with it. I can play. Can I plan for a kill next turn? Not yet, but it will be pretty close. Okay, so he has Lava Burst as a finisher, that's fine. The Dwarf is out of the game. So, do I fear the totem? I probably do fear the totem a bit. Like, let's not take any chances. Guess I can deal that 4 damage. Draw a card. Play the Cleric. The Squire. I'm good. I'm good. I like this. Even if he has Lightning Storm. 6, 7, 8. 3 more. 3 more, so maybe we will be able to finish this. Yeah, that was a Bloodlust. So he's giving up. He'll probably concede now. Oh, he didn't. Okay, let's see what we can draw. Can we finish this game this turn? We can't, but it's still, yeah, okay. We got bugged anyway. Okay, guys, this was a cool game, so thank you for watching. This was the 4th game. It was for fun. I made a mistake, but it's okay. Like, sometimes, like everybody makes mistakes if they play fast. So if you like the guide, if you like this episode, please subscribe to YouTube channel. Also, if you'd like to see me live, follow my channel on Twitch. And I also recommend my Twitter when I share a lot of things and some fun stuff as well. So thank you for watching again. Remember to subscribe and see you on the next episode.